of really excited kids, so maybe some kids could lead us in the flag. What do you think, guys? Ready?
To the flag. United States of America. To the republic, which stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was a great job. Everybody.
Thank you.
Before we get to approving the agenda, I'd just like to welcome Brewster School. I mean, this is the largest group we've had for a presentation. You guys are wonderful. I'd also like to welcome Dr. Charles to our first meeting. We are incredibly excited to have her here, and she has been working so hard and getting to know our community. And we're just very thankful for you to be here.
Thank you.
With that, I will take a motion to approve the agenda. I need to amend it actually first to add under new business. Approval, vote to approve the Camp Jewel field trip. And when we get to that, that document is in our shared folder. Under, oh yeah, I guess it's so, sorry. Separate. Under new business, we'll just do number 3. And if we will vote to approve the Camp Jewel field trip. That was sent to us later, but we wanted to be able to include it similar to the Washington DC trip. So with that change, I'll take a motion to approve as amended. Bob, second by Lucy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval of the minutes, Board of Education, regular meeting, January 8th, 2025. We have a motion to approve.
Move.
Bob, second by Lucy. Discussion, I don't have any changes here. I didn't see any. If anyone has any. All right, with that, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, on to the really fun stuff. We have an amazing group of kids here from Brewster School today and your families, and we're so thankful you guys came. We know it's hard with little ones at this age to get here, but I could tell how excited they were. So I will hand it off to Mrs. Murray.
Okay. Eloise? Okay, good evening, everybody. Board of Education, Dr. Charles, welcome. So it's my pleasure to share with you today some of the exceptional children that we have at Brewster School. This year, the teachers and children have worked to bring play back into our classrooms to help in their development of executive functioning skills and to optimize their academic achievement. Classrooms have worked to implement many teaching strategies that support their executive functioning skills. In addition, teachers have begun to implement play stations that can be based on their academic content, such as math, science, and social studies. Teachers have presented play stations that have moved from educator-directed to educator-guided, and children are presented with provocations, and these challenges are intentionally designed to spark their curiosity, creativity, and a deeper engagement in children's play. It involves an open-ended question and variety of exploration and experimentation where they express their ideas without a predetermined outcome. Mrs. Kaczynski is going to introduce you to some of our kindergartners that have come today to share their learning and creation.
Hi, good evening. I'm Carrie Kaczynski, one of the kindergarten teachers, and the kindergartners have been studying about weather through our EL literacy program, as well as during our NGSS science unit. Some of the guiding questions and big ideas surrounding those topics are: what is weather? What is weather like around the world in different places at different times? And how does the weather impact daily choices that people make? Through purposeful play, the kindergarten team has set up a provocation where students were challenged to design something that would prepare them for a specific weather, such as extreme flooding, strong winds, or lots of rain. So they began by collaborating in a group or individually, and they created a play plan, which is composed of drawings and writings, and then they did the fun part, the executing the plan. This required skills and strategies that support the development of executive functioning. Today, our kindergarten students, some of them are here to share some of those creations with you that they made during their play provocation.
Our MC went home with a fever today, so you get me. And you want to go first? Would you like to? Come hold it. Can you tell me your name?
Eloise,
And can you share with us what you created and how it's going to help you in the weather?
I made a pool, so when it's really hot, you can go in it, and it came with a diving pool with it.
So it's a pool for the extreme hot weather, and can you tell us what this is over on the side here?
Those are stairs,
And then what is this?
a diving board.
So thank you. Thank you for sharing. Theodore, you want to go next? Can you tell everybody your name?
Theodore,
And can you share what you made and how it's going to help you in the weather?
I made a hard helmet with 2 lights. It can help me in a thunderstorm. If the power goes on, I can use my 2 lights. If there's thunder, I can pick my head and witness.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. All right. Ian, would you like to go next? Here he comes. All right. Do you want to hold it up with me? And I'll hold your project. Can you turn around and tell everybody your name?
My name is Ian. I made a house with a basement, and how it's gonna help Sophia is the wild letter is tornado selected. That's what me and Allie thought, a tornado for our wild letter. So when her tornado comes, she goes downstairs into the basement, which is clear. It's this part right here, and she'll be safe from the tornado.
Very much. Liam, are you next? Perfect. Can you tell everyone your name? Everybody what you made and how it's going to help you in the weather?
As when electricity shocks other waves, this lamp could go on.
So when there's no power, your lamp is going to go on. And how will your lamp go on with no power?
And put batteries in here.
Thank you very much for sharing. And Maisie, where's Maisie? Come on over, Maisie. All right, will you tell everyone your name?
Daisy.
Maisie, do you want to turn around and go project and tell everybody what you made and how it's going to help you in the weather?
Hey, wow, that you get to push with this, and there's a keyhole on this, and here's the key, and then you get to push it around.
And then can you tell what this part is in here?
This is the steering wheel, and then this is the strap to the seatbelt, and I take Sophia to it. And then this stands it up so it doesn't fall down.
I love it. And do you want to just show them how it works on the carpet 1 second?
Yeah.
Push it down and push it. Am I forgetting anybody? I don't think so. I think that was everybody, right? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Laura Bernstein, a first grade teacher at Brewster. And we have some first graders here along with Jen Longo, who is a special ed TA. So Brewster School created a school song as a school community as part of an artist residency in the fall of 2020. We were challenged to do that virtually with our artists. Jen Longo has taught the school sign language for the chorus of the song, and the school recites the song each Friday during our school assembly. A first grader from each class is here tonight to sing the song and sign it with Jen Longo. So small, we have fun, we keep each other safe. In the classroom, in the sun, a very special place. That means all small, that means that means very far. Always responsible, always calm, expecting everything we it's important, like a puzzle piece. When we work together, then we so we love to run, playing, sharing, taking turns, making new friends. Sometimes it feels like we
into all the fun we had each day. Before y'all take off, I have to say one thing, which is, Debussy said that when defining what jazz is, he said how the space in between the notes was as important as the notes. And watching your kids while their peers were presenting, were performing, and singing along
Hi, I'm unsure if I was called on or not. I was asked to unmute. There's absolutely no volume. I can't hear it through Zoom at all. Um, I've tried disconnecting and reconnecting just so you guys are aware. And I wanted to ask about um, the minutes for the retreat, if those would be posted.
Hi, everyone. I also cannot hear you. I could hear you before the song was played, but now cannot hear you at all. But I am trying to get there in person.
Maureen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. It's a little echoey, but yes.
Better than nothing. My computer works.
Oh, that's good now. Yes.
Oh, you can hear us?
Yes.
Sweet. All right, looks like we're good. Thank you for letting us know. Is there any more online public comment? Any in person? We do have a chance at the end of the agenda as well. We'll move on to number 6, superintendent's report. Hand it over to Dr. Charles.
Right. Thank you, everybody. As I mentioned in my Parents Square post and the Snapchat newsletter, this first month, I think maybe day 17, maybe. We've really, it's been a whirlwind. We hit the ground running, and as you may know, I'm only technically here 3 days a week, but I'm not doing very well with that 3 days. So, you know, trying to compress everything into 3 days has been a little bit challenging, but so everybody has been wonderful, though. They have been so warm and welcoming to me, and the support and assistance that I've gotten and bringing me up to speed has really been invaluable. Our administrators have been incredibly understanding because I've called them at night, I've called them on the weekends. We are constantly trying to address the many things that are going on in our district. Our goal is to produce a safe and positive learning environment for students, for staff. And we have a really talented staff. They are amazing, but we know we have some significant challenges as well. We've got the building project. I know that we have climate concerns, feelings of mistrust, racial and equity issues, as well as responding to the ad hoc special education report. So we have a lot of work to do, but I can tell you that we are embracing it. We are addressing it, and I hope that you see change and positive change as we continue. I've met with the town leaders and school leaders at all levels. I've engaged in conversations with parents, with teachers, on email, in person, and I can confidently say that everybody wants to see positive change. So I am fully dedicated to working towards that goal. We have hardworking individuals and remarkable students. I went to the National Honor Society. These kids and what they accomplish are absolutely amazing. And then hearing the beautiful voices of our students tonight or at the concerts that I've gone to, the skill and the dedication of our athletes, it's an awesome place. And we need to rekindle that. We need to celebrate that we have great schools. And that's the narrative that we want to project. Pride in our schools and pride in our students. So in order to do that, we need a budget. So, speaking of budgets, can you bring up the presentation? I know that the question on everybody's mind is, okay, so what's the increase? So, you'll go to the next slide. Our proposed gross budget increase is a 5.19% increase with a proposed net budget increase of a 5.7. And Kim has done an incredible job in developing the documents to put this budget together. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Kim, to give us some details, and we'll add back and forth.
The first thing I wanted to note was the budget book is different. It looks different than the slides, obviously. It's a new format this year. It's got a lot more details, got a lot more graphs, a ton of information in there, and I think easier to read. But I welcome the feedback if you don't like this format. I want to thank everyone in central office for their hard work formatting and putting pictures in and all that binding is. I want to give everybody a thank you for that. This screen you're familiar with. This one doesn't change. It hasn't changed since last year in its format because it just tells the story. This is the gross budget, and it increased by 5.19%. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. We'll talk about the different changes, but I just want to note the three highest areas of change in the budget are salaries,
Yeah.
benefits, and operating services. You will notice under 900 debt services, I did employ the same strategy as last year using the bond funds in the capital reserve to pay the debt service. That did reduce the budget by 1.53%. If that is not the course the board wishes to take again this year, we will need to add 1.53% back to the budget. This is the net budget. The net budget is a 5.7 increase. We have used our fund balance over the years. We do have $319,000 we're using for this. And then also I am hopeful to be able to apply an estimated surplus of $250,000. That could be a surplus from this year, or it could be a source of revenue. We are expecting a couple credits from different places. One being the propane buses, we were receiving a credit for that. And then there's another credit that would count as revenue. So that says estimated surplus carryover. It could come from there, or it could come from another source of revenue. But that was $350 to balance last year's budget. So that's $100,000 less than last year. So that's why our net budget is a little bit higher than our gross budget. We used to be on a different trajectory where always gross was higher, but we don't have the revenue to substantiate the same. So the gross budget the net budget is a little higher. It's been that way the last few years. I wanted to say this budget has a couple assumptions in it. The first being that the planned renovation, expansion, and memorial will proceed based on the presented timeline to begin in September of 2025 with an estimated completion for the 27-28 school year. Immediate savings from this project are shown in this budget in the areas of some staffing, benefits, and a reduction in utilities and purchase services. It's important to know that the full savings will not be realized until the 27-28 year when we actually can close the other two schools. So the immediate savings are in the staffing, reduced electricity. We still have to have some electricity there. We still have to have some heat, that kind of stuff, but not to the level we'd have if it was full of students. Another very important point, if for whatever reason between now and April, the public hearing, when this is finalized, if it's the memorial renovation expansion project does not proceed forward, we will need to add 1% back to the budget, and that's about $400,000. Now, in the retreat, I said a lower amount, but that was because that was just building stuff. So we have since removed staffing and things like that from that number, so that would have to be added back in. So by the time April comes around, the budget is approved, passed, or open for referendum. That decision will have to be made whether we're going to continue with this kind of plan A, or if we're going to add that back in. Hopefully we'll have more information by then. And then I just wanted to point out that this doesn't include any current legislative proposals. The budget was presented at the state level. There could be things that come out of that could be unfunded mandates. We don't know. There is money apparently in year 2 for special ed, but that's year 2 of the budget. So that's not this year. That'll be the next year out, if you've heard that. Drivers of this budget, like I said, the top 3 really are the salaries, the contractual obligations. So very detailed, in-depth analysis of salaries. You'll notice the salaries account went up $1 million. That's all direct result of contractual wage increases with bargaining units, step movement, and then there was my notes here. Let's see what else. I have it in a couple down here, but let's see. Oh, yes, we increased the daily rate for daily subs, long-term subs, and nurse subs. So that's included in there. There was also, and actually, I'll get to that. I have a slide for that. So I'll get to that as we move down there. Our preliminary health insurance renewal rate with the state partnership plan came in at 12. We were at 4 last year. It says we're thinking between 10 and 12. I budgeted at 12 because I'd always rather have it go down than up. Each 1% is about $50,000. So if it does go down to 10, that's 100,000 we can take out of the budget. Hopefully it will. Increased specialized education tuition and transportation costs. So that's statewide. That's probably nationwide. But we're seeing an increase in the number of students that are requiring specialized tuition and transportation, but also the price for those services is increasing. The tuition is just really increasing. There was talk at the legislature about capping certain tuition programs, and these were not included in that. And then the lesser but important things, utilities and inflammatory pressures, legislative mandates, like I said, not only ones that are potential, but ones that have been passed in recent time, like the play-based learning, and prior and continued use of our fund balance is what brings us to, we don't have anything to offset the increase. Long-term plan of this budget just shows the transition to a 3-school model. With the grade 4 students going to Lyman, grade 5 going to Strong. So that budget's for that. Again, completion hopefully estimated in the summer of 2027, and then the future savings in the fiscal year of 28 when the schools are closed. We always focus on our aging systems and replacements, and I say always, and at least in the last 5 or 6 years, we've been putting an emphasis on that, and this budget does include a full 2% allocation under the Connecticut General Statute for that, and that is $800,000. One more slide, and then I'll pass it back over to Dr. Charles. Budget composition, really, the salaries and the benefits, it's 73% of the total budget. It's people, it's a people business. Of our 5.19 increase, almost half of that is just salaries. And employee benefits is another 25% of that. So for almost 75% of that increase, salaries and benefits. Mandatory expenditures. So those are the things that we can't control. Obviously, operating services. Those are the property insurance, the auto insurance, the cyber insurance, the tuition, the transportation, those kind of things. That's what the budget is composed of. That's 13% of the overall budget and 41% of the increase. That doesn't add to 100. And the reason is because we had the reduction in the debt service, and that's the negative, so it offsets it. I don't know if there's math people out there doing the math. I'll pass this off staffing to Dr. Charles.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we certainly understand is the need for additional special education support. So we're asking for a teacher and a teaching assistant. And basically that's to address IEP hours. When a student's IEP is written for so many hours, it's a mandate. We have to provide those services. And so that's that. But we also know that we need a district climate specialist, and we need the continuous training in restorative practices and helping staff implement that in our classrooms. It's part of our school climate policy, and it was the recommendation of the board that all staff have that training. So a district climate specialist is proposed in the new in this budget. So decreases. You know, you were, I believe, in this situation last year where we decreased a kindergarten class and enrollment went up and you had to add it back in. At the moment, we have it out of the budget again. You may end up having to add that back in depending on how many children come through in registration. So we're watching that number very carefully. But grade 2, grade 6, those are just reductions in the number of students at that grade level. And the nurse, the 2 secretaries, and the 3 part-time custodians are all due to closing of the school. And so that is the explanation for the non-certified. Also on the certified side is a coordinator of student affairs. And I'm looking at the coordinator of student affairs being offset by the school climate person. And so that would be a wash, but the net FTE change is -5 FTE.
How many of those on the non-certified, sorry, are, and those are dependent on Memorial closing? If Memorial doesn't close, those positions are part of that 400,000?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
So new proposals. We have the curriculum for the art of teaching. And this is a class that was added this year. We had a grant that encouraged students to consider teaching as their profession. And next year, we will not have that grant, so we will need to purchase that curriculum. And the cost is about $5,000, $5,500 for that curriculum. I checked with the number of students, and they're anticipating, it's of course not set in stone because kids are in the process of selecting the courses, but it's anticipated that 15 students would be in that class. The next thing, the 3 ADs for the field, I can't emphasize this enough. I was in a situation when I was superintendent in Middletown where we had a middle school student at basketball that collapsed, and we used that AED, and I can't tell you like how traumatic it was traumatic anyway, but it's so important that I would implore you not to remove those. They're not that expensive, and it's just, you just never know when you're really going to need to use it. The remote monitoring software, this software is going to be installed on every computer, and it's going to address cybersecurity, network security, and it automates fixing things in the software. We need increases in our daily, long-term, and nurse substitute pay. We have a terrible time trying to get subs. And so we're looking at increasing our daily sub rate from 120 to 135, our non-certified from 100 to 110. Long-term subs will move from 135 to 150. Nurses from 150 to 175. They're really hard to get. And the total sub increases would be about $50,000.
Are the AEDs spec to the ambulance and fire department? Are they gonna be compatible?
We'll make sure that happens.
Yeah, for sure. I think they're gonna be stored, they'd be stored on and secured climate proof boxes, right?
Oh, the AEDs?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. So not included in the budget. The instructional tech specialist, we were looking for somebody to work alongside teachers to help integrate technology in the classroom. The 1.0 FTE business teacher, we were looking to really develop that business pathway. If we went engineering, it's a much more expensive pathway, and there's a lot of equipment that's involved. We're also looking to add an esports class, and at this point, we'll just have to choose between the offerings that we're able to provide to the students based on enrollment. The systems technician, we've added 900 devices since 2020, and you know that we have one-to-one laptops. We fix everything in-house rather than sending it out, so it's definitely a savings to the district, but we are stretched on our technicians for that. The Brewster gym floor and playground paving, that's, I guess, been on your radar for quite a while. And every time you think that you're going to maybe close Brewster and it doesn't get done, I guess the gym floor has some seam issues that have been repaired. It's kind of like it's at the end of its life. Can we make another year? Yes, we probably can. Fencing around the athletic fields was also a request. I guess there's a situation where there's not fencing in between the road and the fields. And so people with dirt bikes or motorcycles, or even, I guess, a car last year can get on the field and do donuts and really ruin our fields. And I guess in the baseball field, there is a section that is open, and particularly the youth kids, the balls go down into the brook. So it would be nice if we had more fencing there. email monitoring software, that protects against phishing attempts and viruses. The cargo van for facilities and grounds is 20 years old, and it's rusting out. And the aerial lift, we have one lift. It doesn't really go as high as we need it to. You use it for like putting up the banners in the gym, cleaning out the vents, things like that. So at this point, we rent it. They looked at the purchasing a used one, I believe, for $30,000. But it would be nice, but it's not enough for me.
I will pick back up on salaries. As I discussed earlier, the salaries, it's increase of a 4.42% or $1,019,000. And represents 50% of the district budget and 48% of the 5.19 increase. We budgeted again, contractual wages, step increase, step movement, and for both certified and non-certified. And it is 98% vacancy factor. So that has been applied again this year. And this also does represent the -5 FTE that is incorporated in here. And so the increase in the salaries is partially added to the contractual obligations. Daily subs, long-term subs, and nurse subs, the increase in that rate. There was an increase in time for intervention, enrichment, and kindergarten academy from 3 to 4 weeks. I don't know, kindergarten academy is 4 weeks, but increased budgeting for homebound instruction. We had to increase that line a bit. And then we've been seeing some increased time and haven't budgeted it appropriately in the past couple of years for additional time for more and more unified sports events, or just even different events, sporting and whatnot, that happen at the end of the day or on the weekend, where a student needs a teacher assistant with them, according to the IEP, or it could be a teacher. We have historically not really budgeted great in that area, so we did increase it up based on historics this year. And then we did, and this of course is something that there's an increase for summer custodial work and substitutes. Again, if the memorial project, which this does assume it does, I think a lot of that can shift to the project cost. So, I might be able to make some adjustment there, but I don't know that it's going to be a, percentage move. Employee benefits is the second big category here. That's an increase of 7.85% or 527,000. That represents 17% of the whole budget and 25% of the 5.19% increase. What's under employee benefits? So this includes the ADEC pension contribution. So that's the actuarial determined something contribution. That's our pension contribution each year. And the district has always funded at 100% of the ADEC, and proud to be 92% funded in the pension, the defined benefit pension plan that a lot of people cannot claim that they are. This includes an increase for unemployment compensation due to the reduction of some staff. The FICA and Medicare, obviously that increases in correlation to step and wage increases. Workers' compensation, just an annual increase in workers' compensation. And then again, you'll see the health insurance at 12%. We are in a group with Middlefield and Durham, and we did have a meeting not that long ago where we are actually probably entertaining getting some bids, soliciting some bids from some alternative carriers. We're in our 3rd year of the state partnership plan. As far as I know, everybody loves the state partnership plan. So it would have to be a significant savings, I think, to get us to go, but it's worth looking at. So next is operating services. Operating services incorporates a couple different line items. That increased 19.3 or 873,000. That's 13% of the budget and 41% of the increase. That includes transportation for specialized programs. It includes daily transportation too, but the specialized program transportation and tuition costs in number of students, but also in costs of what they're charging. We had budgeted, and last year, that's coming up soon, we had budgeted at 15 students last year. in the year we're in now, we're at 21. So we're budgeting for 22. So from 15 to 22 is a significant increase. We had an increase in our property insurance, again, just a yearly increase, but we did have the field house that we added, didn't add a lot of money, but we did have to add that on. And then the daily transportation, there was an increase. We do get a credit based on the deal with the propane and with the muni leasing and stuff. So that is pending. Here is the graph that shows the number of students that we've had. This is district statewide. This is a lot of budgets that I've been looking at in other districts and one that are addressing, you know, this and just saying that these are the things that we just simply cannot control. We can't control how much they charge us for these services. And then supplies is not a big area. That increased 14% or 197,000. 14% sounds a lot, but it's 14% of what it was, which wasn't a lot. And that represents about 9% of the increase. Supplies represents it is include to sorry, I had another supplies. I'm looking into that. I have more information on supplies, but we can do that another day. Capital, and that's an increase of 5.36 or 70,000. That represents fully funding the capital reserve at the 800,000. We had done 722 last year because you can do the 2%, but again, it's the chicken and the egg because you increase one, the budget, it increases how much you can put in the capital, which then increases the budget. So at some point you have to call it. So we called it at 722 last year, 800 this year. And also there is where those AED machines are budgeted is in capital. And also software renewal fees have been very, very high, unanticipated high. So that we've budgeted appropriately for that. So there was an increase for that. Here's the capital projects that we've tagged as making up that $800,000. Things that we've talked about throughout the year. Again, obviously this is open for, you know, this is our best proposal. Stadium sound system we discussed was needed, 20,000. The track replacement, we're going to be putting in the track this summer, and depending on which we're choosing, which method would be about another 120,000 we would need. If we went with a more expensive method, we're going to need more and we're going to have to back off somewhere else. Concession stand, so put some new equipment in the concession stand and get that kind of you know, up and running and up to standards, health code standards. Athletic fields, varsity and softball, we did do some work on them this year, but there's still work to be done, so there's money in there for that. Key fob access on the press box, we have to get wiring out there and stuff out there if we're going to be doing that. So that would be $10,000. The unanticipated buildings repairs and maintenance, 200,000. We've been putting that away for the kind of in limbo, Brewster and Lyman being open and not knowing if we're going to have things that are going to break down. But also, you know, we haven't really have a lot of savings for Coggins and Strong either. So things could happen there. So it's a good thing to have that in there. The rest of it is a proposal to begin reserve for different things that we don't have or to continue a reserve. So we need new tennis courts. We've just been repairing them. New tennis courts going to be $1 million. So we need to start saving money for that. It's also, you know, maybe you might consider premature. I think it's smart to start your track and turf replacement fund again. You just put $10,000 in a year and you don't miss that because it's not a big hitter like you have to put out, you know, $200,000 or $300,000 or the 120 like I mentioned earlier. Scoreboard on the football field, a reserve for that. Here's the big ones, the roof. Coggins is going to need a roof soon. We're at 20 years. We don't have a lot of significant leaks or anything, but we also have not saved any money for the roof. So I think we need to put that $100,000 a year for the roof. Could we put in more? Yeah, but I'm comfortable. It's a start. Strong roof and chiller. We've been saving for the roof and chiller at Strong. So this is just another I think we have about 350 in there for roof and chiller, so Strong. So that's a little bit more dependent. You know, we're better a situation there. Glycol, You heard me explain that last year. You know, it's an expensive thing and it's got a lifespan and, you know, we're really have to save for it. That's really just here and it's strong. VFD drives, variable frequency drives, we've been saving a little bit here and there. We did save for that in past years too, so it's just sticking with that cycle. So that totals $800,000.
What is a VFT?
Variable frequency drive, and I think it's for like HVAC and it's a facilities thing. Debt service, this is our existing debt service. This does not include any debt service for Memorial. And because that would not happen until there was a bond sale. So that wouldn't be for quite a few years, couple of years out anyways. And the blue line in 25-26 is what I'm proposing to use the bond funds and the capital reserve, just like we did for the year we're in now, to pay that. And then you'll see that this is all the 6.9 million bond. And then you'll see how it goes down each year. We've got those funds in there and we've got to pay them back, if we don't use them. And one use of them is, debt service. So we can do that and help decrease the budget. We've got 3 years, which we're closing in on our 3 years. The reason we have funds in there is because we had saved funds for Brewster, for the infrastructure at Brewster, and with that maybe closing, we haven't done any work there, so these funds are kind of in there. So that decreases by 1.53%, like I had mentioned before, if that's not the course you wish to take. Additional dates, there'll be another workshop on the 26th where I think that will probably go into more in-depth on salaries, maybe have some updated information on benefits, but a lot of times we don't have that until most people. And then maybe we could talk about supplies, purchase services, kind of really get into more information on that. And then April 2nd, public hearing, May 5th, district meeting, and May 6th, referendum. I did send out the Google Doc today, just like we've done in years past. Go ahead, put your questions in there, I answer them, and then at the next meeting, we can talk about them in public.
We'll have to add finance committee meetings into that schedule.
Yes, yeah. Those are just what's planned right now. Yeah.
How much of this budget is unfunded mandates?
You know, we tried to do that, and my CASMO group tried to do that, and we just so many that, and it was hard to put a price to it. I mean, I have, so I think Lucy's asked me that in the past. It would not be accurate for me to give you a number, but I can try the best.
I think it's just important for the public to know that as well, because there were a lot of things that were legislatively that we have to take care of.
Just the play-based learning, which you saw tonight was absolutely amazing. That was an unfunded mandate. Change in the kindergarten age. I have a couple here that have a class.
You don't have to give it, I'm just saying it's just something that we probably should let the public know, because I think it's an important number.
Get paid leave, yeah, and HVAC balancing and testing.
Right.
And different course offerings that were required, the personal finance course.
I think people will be surprised what that number is.
Yeah, so you know, I can try my best to put $1 to it,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
at least we can have a list
Yeah.
of what those are.
Add that to that, and we can add it to the agenda for the budget, when the budget workshop. And I think we've been pretty successful with the Google Doc. It's helped be able to frame some of our budget discussions so we don't get in the weeds. So we could take a look at it, you know, detailed, and Jason will set up some meetings for finance committee. Newest finance committee member, I see him in the back. So
Briefly looking at this is really nice.
I love this book, Kim. I didn't want to interrupt you, but it's just,
Did a nice job.
I love it. Yeah, it's
Thank
coming
you.
up
I
really
can
well.
take all the credit. I have a lot of help.
I'll let your staff know. It's definitely, it's easy to follow. So thank you.
Good, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Certainly know how much work goes into that. Okay, chair update, I don't have any, so we can skip that. We can move on to Kim for. We're coming back to Kim. I feel like Kim, we always go back to back, and then Bob's always gets back to back with you.
Very fast.
Okay.
The general fund finished out the month of January at 56% expended. We've received 60% of our revenue, but we are encumbered at 99.9% of our budget. I did today send often I do for March 1st, every year, I send a note out to the schools saying, you need to encumber what you're gonna use between now and the end of the year. That's not an unreasonable request as far as I'm concerned. I know emergencies come up on, that kind of stuff we'll deal with, but if you know what you need, encumber it now. And it doesn't mean you can't access your funds. It means encumber them if you know that you're going to be using them. That helps me determine if we've got a surplus that we can apply towards the budget or if we don't have any. And then the last thing I wanted to just mention was we had just a little update on our RFP process. So we did have two out. We had architectural services and we had owner's rep. We did get the bids back in and we did review both. And that is done in executive session, and it's done in executive session on purpose by design, because it's Connecticut public bidding laws are to give everyone an even level playing field. And there are negotiations in these processes, and there are trade discounts, and there are things in the proposals, and that if you were to let other proposers see it, kind of steals their secrets. So it all has to be done. It seems like, people were not happy that it was done in executive session. That's how it's done. I think if it was not done in executive session, we'd have some people complaining, some architects. So it's expected. And then that's what we'll also do for the interviews. The interviews again are on executive session. That's where we try to negotiate price with our RFP, because it's not just like a refrigerator where it is what it is, it's white, it's this and that. These are services you can negotiate in areas. I need more in this, less in this. And that would not be fair to that architect or vendor if someone else were to hear that and offer the same thing. So that's why it's done in private and executive session. It is exempt for FOI for that purpose, and it is done so everybody gets the same opportunity to bid on. Okay. And then,
And before you're on, the MTA budget's in here too?
oh yes, MTA is at the very end.
Okay.
And I know, Kim, I know you wanted to ask the board on interviews for the committee, if you wanted, building committee, or if we wanted
Thank you.
board
Yes.
members as well. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that.
Thank you. Yeah, so February 19th is we're interviewing 4 architects. And it's from 5 to 7, half-hour blocks, 20-minute interview, and then 10-minute discussion. So I wanted to know if the board felt that just the building committee would handle it and then bring back a suggestion to the board, or if any board members want to be in on it. You're more than welcome to come. Board members can come in to executive session. So just trying to get your. Yeah, it's not it. I guess. I don't know. Am I looking for a consensus saying let the the committee members handle it, or just if you want to come? Because after, my hope is that evening, at the end of that evening, we'll be able to then come to the next public board meeting and to propose, award the contract.
I mean, the building committee, Bob and I, and who else? There's a few of us on the building committee. I'd welcome them all to come because I think they might have some input. But I also want people to know that the building committee is encompassed of a lot of talented individuals that are very savvy in this, and they've been very instrumental in trying to help us out with this. And I'd probably be a good idea for the rest of the board to show up and just kind of hear what these guys have to say. So this way there's a full consensus from everyone, and that there is no, I guess everyone will be on the same page and understand what's going on with it. So I appreciate you telling everybody that, obviously we're not trying to hide anything, but there is a lot of talent on that building committee that has saved a lot of money for this district, but in addition, they've done a lot of these projects and a lot of help with that as well too. So
I think some of the concern was that it was too many people at that case with both building and the board to interview. But I think they will welcome it. So I think anyone who wants to so Kim knows, just get in touch with Kim.
Yeah, and you don't have to be an active participant. You can just listen to. No,
It's also important to note that it's the building committee that makes the decision.
Well, they make the recommendation.
Well, sorry, the
Right.
recommendation to the board. It's the building committee that makes the recommendation.
but at least you would know going into that next meeting you would have a
Right.
better
No,
understanding.
I understand that. I
I'm
understand.
not saying you have to be there. I mean, I would think it's just best for as many people as possible.
And I think then you could ask questions there so that you feel that's the best person too, by the time you leave, right? And, or maybe not, but instead of coming to this meeting and say, well, why was that person picked? Like, you can be part of it.
They're phenomenal, even going
The
through,
19th from 5 to 7.
you know, without disclosing, you know, executive sessions, like I have full confidence in this group. It's amazing to know who they've worked with, who they have, and what projects they've worked on. They're a phenomenal group. It is fun to watch them. It is. No, so I encourage anyone to come, even if you're gonna sit with me. I think that was it. I think so. Committee reports. Right, here comes the jumble back and forth. First go to policy, we'll go to Bob, and then we'll Lucy and back to Bob.
Yeah, it was
That
short.
wasn't at the meeting.
No. Policy committee had a short meeting to discuss the change in the non-resident school students and eliminated item 6, which we didn't understand when we adopted it, but it was a section that allowed psychiatrists and school authorities to allow a resident student without tuition, and we had never discussed that, so we eliminated that section. It will come up for a vote tonight. The other is Title IX. Discussed that. Law was changed in January, and the 2024 version was eliminated, so we had to go back to 2020. And because our regulations we had just adopted in November, we represented the 2024 statute at Shipman and our attorneys said we had to go back, and so we were reverting back to our 2020 regulations and policy, and they'll be voted on tonight. There were not that many changes. It just, there's some definition changes we can talk about when we get to the policy. That's it.
Student achievement. The minutes are linked in the agenda for tonight, from the January 29, 2025 meeting. I'm not going to read them through. I'm going to be very brief because we do have some discussion later under new business for some proposed courses, so I will come back to that. We had a great meeting. We discussed, Dr. Siegel came and brought to us conversation about the new social studies rollout that's happening. There are new standards that the state has adopted. She highlighted some of the Merwin Trust awardees. So we have some an experimental design class, a strong school class, a grade 4 class, and other awards given to Strong and the high school, and for an Earth Day program at the high school, support for the robotics team. Very grateful as always for their generosity with our teachers. So thank you for organizing and making sure that happens. We also talked a bit about the educator leader growth plan and how that's different, and the reception has been positive so far this year about the changes to that. We discussed the K-5, we had a lot on the agenda. We discussed K-5 science curriculum, K-5 social studies. If you want details about, you know, the timing and how many class sessions per week and how many minutes per session, that's all in the minutes. We talked about graduation requirements, which I believe is going to be, we discussed that in policy too, or no, that's different.
Yeah, we're gonna bring it to policy.
Yeah.
Next meeting.
And yeah, so we discussed graduation requirements. We also started conversation about student achievement related planning needs for a new K-5 Memorial School. Like, what's that gonna look like? In terms of learning environments, curriculum innovation, like how do we define those future ready spaces that we kept reading about when we were talking about this? So pretty exciting. We talked about a handbook and the curriculum handbook.
And that is it. Next meeting, Mr. Bottomley from the high school will be coming to share some of the work that his art students are doing. So we're super looking forward to that. Thank you.
Oh, all right, the building committee met, on February 4th to review proposals for architect, we we reviewed 6 proposals, 7 proposals and 7, and ended up with 4 that are going ahead for interviews on the 19th. The policy committee on, oh, I think I mixed this up. The policy committee on February 5th is the one where we talked about the changes in district. Yeah, and then the policy committee on the 15th, we discussed the final, excuse me for going backwards. We discussed the final building and safe climate plan. We talked about the need for restorative practices. We went over the policies that are up for agenda discussion tonight, and left a few aside for the next policy committee. So those are what we did, the combined effort. So sorry, I missed the and the building committee met on Friday to interview owner's rep. We had 4 proposals, and the committee decided that we were not going to pursue that at this time. And so we're gonna, Kim is gonna take care of adjusting our invitations to not move ahead with the owner's rep at this time.
Or some modified version of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just not in the form that they came in for bids.
Recommendations on professional development, I'll open up to everyone. Other than we know that the legislation, they're in session right now. I'm on a list to go up and testify on special education. And a few other things that have to do with regional districts and ECS funding. So I'll keep you up to date on when that happens and send you the transcripts. If anyone wants to come with me, more than welcome. If I'm sitting in there is listening to some board members across the state, it's always pretty invigorating to watch. Communication wise, we've had a lot of communication since Dr. Krause started, and we've been forwarding to her, and she's been able to respond and meet with parents and sending it to the appropriate administrators. It's been great, and she's making great connections. If Bob wants to talk about anything with sports.
They had senior night with the 2 basketball teams, and some state champions in the track team. They had a lot of really big wins in the track,
For Shorelines
and for Shorelines, and I think the girls basketball team is #1 in Shoreline, the boys #2. I think there's going to be a joint boys and girls Shoreline game at Coggeshall for the first game of the Shoreline, which would be sometime next week, I think. Or
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, there's Deb.
Yeah.
Thursday, it's set for a doubleheader, 5 and 7, but.
So that would be great if a lot of people could come to that. The kids have done really well this year.
Yeah, both teams are doing really well.
They're a really good teams, and they work very hard together.
The high school robotics just beat states
Yep.
past weekend and really well. They're a phenomenal group of kids that are working really hard. We've seen Mrs. Walsh and them come in nights we have meetings really late, and they've been working hard. The middle school's working hard with robotics. It's amazing to see the dedication from some of these kids on these robots.
Yeah, shout out to the pep band as well too. They've been coming to every home game too. Friday nights, they've been great
Yeah, they had a really wonderful shout out for
senior night as well.
Yeah. We had an article in the paper. They're just a great group. Everyone that comes in always says it's amazing that you have a band like that.
thing we have to work on is next year, try to work with the athletic directors so the boys and girls games are not the same night. I know that it probably saves a lot of staff from being there 3 nights a week, but it means that you can't go to both. Especially if you have
That is one of the largest complaints
children or
coming from
grandchildren.
both the boys and the girls.
So
It's a tall order.
maybe something we have to look at in the budget.
I mean, maybe not
process.
so much every game, but at least a couple of them.
Yeah,
Especially the important ones like senior night, take out, things like that, because those are the nights. Unfortunately, though, they're not coordinated in time sometimes. And Todd probably doesn't get enough time for it, but it's definitely something that needs to be coordinated for next year because that's one of the biggest concerns.
the Shoreline athletic directors must have agreed on the schedule because they're all the same boys and girls are on the same night in different schools. So it's very difficult to, if you want to support them, and if you had a boy and a girl in the class, you would really have to split the family to go see them, so. Anyway, that's probably the biggest complaint that we heard about, is that we try to get them there so that we can have both families there at the same time.
This past Saturday, I had the privilege of going down to Broughton, Avery Point, Yukon campus. They have the National Ocean Sciences Bowl.
How'd they do?
Teams of 4, 3 of them whom are Coggins students. They were there to defend their title from last year. They went up against 11 other teams from schools whom are associated with ocean studies and environmental studies. And after 7 rounds of toss-up questions, collaboration, written questions, and they got graded, our team made it to the final round, only to come 2 points short of defending their title, but they were also judged on sportsmanship. And these kids were from all the 11 other teams were just so congenial and empathetic to each other. No tears. It was just like really good to see the future of what we have here. And, you know, these are kids that are perhaps not into sports so much. They had their buzzers, they had to be right on, and it was very fun to watch indeed. So, and it was led by Lori Martin, who's been a longtime teacher in the district, who pretty much put her whole life into special outdoor education, rather, including myself back in 6th grade. So just saying.
They put a lot of work into it. They did weekends.
Yeah, it was a ton of time.
It's amazing.
But
There's a passion like no other out of Lori Martin and Susan Michael.
the kids will never forget this for the rest of their lives. Those are the type of experiences we hope they all have here. So.
I'm glad they got to do it. That's awesome.
Good job.
The only other thing I want to update you guys on, so the both towns, Durham and Middlefield, came together to do an MOU and send it to the state so that there's a 5-year rolling average on enrollment, so that there's not a huge shift. Say if 5 kids move into Middlefield and offset Durham's, that they're not hit with this huge number. So it's going to average over a 5-year period. It should help the towns really function better. Part of that is commitment from the district. It really only benefits us because we're helping the towns really plan. That's the only thing we can do for the most part on a lot of things. I think, it's a great thing to do. I do have to go up on the 5th just to, we expect that the state won't ask any questions. It will be on the consent agenda and likely passed, but in case they have any questions, and it goes on the regular agenda, they want to be able to ask if the board's okay with it, if we have any issues. Kim and I have talked about it too. And so I'll go up that day if anyone wants to ride up with me, but hopefully it'll help. I know it really hurt Middlefield. They got slammed, was almost $1 million when they on the shift in enrollment, so. we have to do-
The first district in the towns to actually go down this road, so there is not a precedent. So I would think once this happens and it gets approved, I think other regional districts will join, but no one has taken it to task yet. So our towns did, so that's great.
Yeah, it seems really encouraging. I mean, talking to Matt up there, he's, he just wanted as much information and commitment, and he said, people are watching and regional districts are watching as a way to help our member towns, so. It'll be good.
Communication.
Of course.
I just wanted you to know that we have petitioned the State Board of Education to see whether we could get all the schools to end on the same day because of the death and the fire that occurred in the fall. And so we're sending that forward and have our fingers crossed. I know they're really tough about changing it, but I don't know, with the snow days and everything else, we'll see what happens. But I just want everybody to know that we are putting that forward to the state.
And that's because the offset of the elementary schools had that day off, but middle
And
and high
the
school.
middle and
didn't.
high school did not,
Yeah.
right?
Hopefully we'll have an answer soon on that. And it's good for the staff and the parents to know.
Yep, and I'll let you know as soon as I hear.
Anyone else? Didn't see anything? Okay. All right, new business. There's a bunch here, but I should be able to go through the policy stuff pretty quickly. Ready?
Sure, this will be the first read on some of these. Actually, these are on here because we talked about them, but not all of them need any action. The first is the Bullying and Safe School Climate Plan. We've merged a bunch of proposals from CAVE, and we ended up with a fairly long policy on bullying. We also added a lot of bit about restorative practices to the impacts of that. We had members of our restorative team come and talk to the board about the need for it. And we encouraged to put in the regulations that restorative practices will be required of training for our teachers. So that's the first one. This again is the first read. It's policy 5131.8. The second under B is Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. This was a proposal from in the past. It determined that it's a statute and it doesn't need to be in our policy. So this is just there for information. It will not proceed. Was just here to go over that so that we don't need to actually bring this one back for the second read because we weren't going to read it. The next one, C, notification parents of their right to know and teacher and parent professional and paraprofessional qualifications. They also determined that that is the law and did not need to add a policy on this as well. So this will not appear again. The parent and family engagement policy. We recommend that we replace the current policy with some technical updates by Shipman, and that will be included and pretty straightforward. Do you have any questions on it? And next one is parental access to instructional materials. We would recommend this is okay as well. Is a law, but we felt that this one was important to have in our policies because it gave people the right to understand where the materials would be and what they can and can't do. And that, so we left continue to add that to our policies only because it really gave the parents another more of a discussion, more of a guideline on how what information could be. And the F, participation in school sponsored activities. I thought we had delayed that to talk about whether or not it could bring dates to senior prom, and so that shouldn't be on here. It'll be on our next policy committee.
We'll take that off the first read.
Yeah.
Just see that back.
And promotion retention, that recommended about that. This really deals with mostly younger students. And finally, the school calendar. We amended the policy to include that the graduation date could be established right at the beginning. So those are the ones for first read. Again, it's smaller than here. And they'll be brought up at the next meeting. So if there's any questions or comments, let me know. And again, on policy recommendations, non-resident students. This included a sentence that we had talked about this for quite a bit of time, basically talking about tuition requirements. And one of the items in that went through that we didn't address was that item number 6 on the second page. Mental and physical health of the child is certified by a physician, school psychologist, or other appropriate school personnel would be a way for our non-resident student to be allowed without tuition. We recommended that the policy committee that we not include that sentence. So this would be, we would just vote tonight to eliminate that sentence of our current policy. So this would actually require a vote.
We have a motion to amend the policy for non-resident students 5118. By John, second.
Okay.
Any discussion? It was pretty clear cut in policy
Yeah.
in this one. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstained. Passes. B.
B is Title IX, sexual discrimination, sexual harassment, and Title IX regulation. As I said earlier, the current federal law that changed the requirements and some definitions in sexual discrimination and harassment was eliminated. And recommended that we go back to our 2020 version, which pretty much includes everything. There are some provisions that are quite a little bit different. Jen, you want to talk about some of them? No?
There's a lot. I want to, I plan on it, so. Well, I was gonna do it during the discussion.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we'll make a motion, motion to approve. I lost my, motion to,
Amend
the title.
Or want to go back.
Title IX, sexual discrimination, harassment, from the 2024 policy back to the 2020 Title IX regulations under students. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Bob, second by John. Any discussion?
Why, yes. I'm going to preemptively explain I will abstain. The change is in 2020, Title IX expanded to cover gender identity, sexual orientation, sex, and protect against discrimination based on sexual stereotypes. And so I'm sorry, that's the one that we are the 2024, we are reverting back to where those people are no longer protected. So as a board, we have a legal responsibility and obligation to pass. So I am not in any way encouraging people to vote no. However, I will not vote against my community, and I will not vote to remove protections for people. So like I said, I expect it to pass. We have an obligation to pass it, but I will be abstaining for those reasons.
Under the federal guidelines to roll the Title IX policy back to the 2020, are there other ways, are there other policies that could?
So how we choose, like, under the name Title IX, it's got to be what the feds say, right? And feel free to push.
No, you're right, go.
However, what we do, like, that's the floor. Right, so if we have bullying, if we have discrimination based on sexual orientation or sexual stereotypes, it just would fall under bullying, not under Title IX. So we can maintain we can by choice protect those people, but we don't have to. So again, we have to pass the Title IX. We have to vote. Well, y'all have to.
Our bullying policy is robust enough to take.
Right.
Right? Or no?
If it's implemented, yeah.
Indiscipline. It should be done. Bullying and harassment.
I would venture to guess that it should be.
Bullying, no matter what.
Yeah.
So I think
Based on the rollback, is there a suggestion to go back and I got really go through the bullying policy?
Again, I think our policy is great. It's just not necessarily enforced the way it is written.
In comparison to the 2024.
Oh,
No,
again, I think you have to take Title IX out
Oh,
of
I'm
it,
just saying,
right?
yeah.
But
you said in general.
yeah. So yes, I would hope, are still gonna protect all of our kids, each kid. It's just that we have to pass. Y'all have to pass.
It's regulation. It's
Yeah.
federal regulation is what you said.
Our bullying policy does include discrimination, harassment, teen dating. And pretty much, covers most of these issues.
Right.
And I think that,
And part of the change is jurisdiction of investigation under Title IX, where it says if there's a complaint, it has to be school sponsored on school grounds under the old, now new regulations. For bullying and harassment and disciplinary policies, it doesn't have to be on school grounds. So if, or school sponsored activity, it is on.
So how does that work if the Title IX policy and the bullying policy kind of contradict each other in how we investigate? Is it just different?
They're just different.
They're just different
Different.
lanes.
different.
Just different lanes.
Yeah, it's just different reporting mechanisms.
We could still implement the safety plan if need be.
Yeah,
correct?
oh, yes.
So,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's imperative that as an administration, you guys understand
Oh, absolutely.
that that's when you need to step in and put in a safety plan for somebody.
Yes.
Right, we have a third, we have a motion and a second, Title IX sex discrimination, sexual harassment. 2020 Title IX regulations, student shipments policy. All those in favor? But can you read it one more time? Yep, Title IX, sex discrimination and harassment. 2020 Title IX regulations under students, it is shipments policy. All those in favor? Or are we done with discussion there?
Nobody wants to vote.
No, and like I said,
we're obligated.
And I thank you for giving me the cover where I can abstain, and it's not gonna matter.
Yeah, we
I
can't.
support
Right.
it,
Right.
but the administration needs.
We're on the record for. In the
And we
minute.
can't enforce the 2024 rule.
Sure that.
But the bullying policy covers,
Right.
so it's.
But, so let me just, and I apologize for extending this any longer than,
Of course.
but, the bullying policy covers it. However, if somebody is investigating something and somebody falls under a protected class, like we would count somebody to be in a protected class currently.
Yeah.
Yep, we roll this back. We can no longer say this person is protected.
No,
Or
we
am I-
can no longer say this is a Title
Under
IX
Title
violation.
We can under bullying, but not under. Title IX.
Bullying does identify discrimination.
What are the challenges that happen with that? In the difference, like in examples,
Just in the investigation.
just
portion.
investigations in general.
Right,
It can't be
right.
considered a Title IX complaint.
Right,
Would have to be considered a bullying complaint, right? Which leaves out a whole set of ways to protect.
right. And in some districts, in some states, it's going to have a real impact.
Yes.
Right? Here, it's not. I hope.
Yes, yeah. We vote.
Any other discussion?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain.
Thirsty.
Thirsty. We abstain. Thank you for all those explanations and we fully understand and support you.
Thank you.
Under new business, I actually said C, so we'll go with proposed courses again, then you can do it, if that's okay.
Yeah.
No, I thought you said three.
But you
Yeah,
said
you
three.
said three.
I mean, I said three, but that's under policy review, so I mean,
Oh, got it.
Oh.
yeah,
Player policy.
we can do it now because that's in between. We'll just do it.
Okay.
Camp field trip, we all received that. If anyone wants to pull it up in our emails, it was an ask for Strong to be able to, get moving on that one so that we can start. I didn't see anything in it that was different. I don't think we have anything from Strong here, but to me, it looked exactly the same as the final year.
Is it-
It's in the same as last year. They switched it up, so they're doing, which I think has been super successful. If I remember what Cheryl said, switching it up so that they're going in the fall and it's more team building as opposed to an end of year activity. It's something where the kids are really being able to interact with each other, get to know the staff and the teachers and their friends. Really good team building, making those connections at the beginning before issues between kids arise. So I'll take a motion to approve the Camp Jewel field trip for Strong. John, second?
Sure.
Linda gets a second. Discussion.
Better be a pity second.
Never a pity second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, we'll let Cheryl know. I'm sure she'll be very happy to get moving with that. Cog proposed courses. Tina, do you want to take these?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I can start and then people can jump in.
Yep.
So in the agenda for tonight, there is a link to Cog proposed courses. I don't need to do the whole history of it. But we have a big list. There were courses that were added between 2022 and 2024 to the program of studies without board approval. So we're kind of backtracking and making sure things go in the right direction for the responsibility that we have as a board, for the responsibilities that we have on the Student Achievement Committee in terms of curriculum, and the responsibilities that we have at the state level in terms of publishing curriculum. So any courses that we're running are supposed to have curriculum published, approved, and on our website for prospective parents, you know, whatever the situation may be that would bring somebody to the website to ask questions about the curriculum. And so we received the document that the link is there too in the fall. So it's broken up into sections based on when the courses were running. So like the first section, and I don't know if people are looking at it currently, but the first section is classes that are already in the program of studies that did not go through student achievement or the board to be approved for the program of studies. So that would be unified health, experimental design, the art of teaching, EMR, fire science, exercise science, and introduction to economics. What we asked for early on was a scope and sequence for those courses. And then at the, which meeting was it? It was the December 4th Student Achievement Committee meeting. The Student Achievement Committee said, okay, we're going to bring these to the board. We'll green light for now. However, there are certain curriculum items that have to be in place prior to, and it's, I mean, I say prior to, but the courses are already running, students are enrolled, these are happening. But in order for us to approve them, there are certain elements that need to be included. So like objectives, enduring understandings, essential questions, summative assessments, at least one anchor learning activity, tiered vocabulary, and lists of resources. So we've received a lot, but there are some questions about the summative assessment specifically, that there are some of the courses, and again, like this is tricky because they've been running. Some of the courses are programs that have been purchased from other organizations, so their layout does not look like our layout. Meaning their curriculum may not be organized the same way that our curriculum documents are organized and laid out.
So I bring that here. We want to make sure that we are doing right by kids, but we also need to make sure that we're doing right by what we are tasked with doing. So, you know, I'm not sure quite where to go with that at this point.
Well, I think we chunked them out for a reason based on the recommendations from the Student Achievement Committee. And so the recommendations for that first set, if I remember from Student Achievement, was Unified Health, Experimental Design, Art of Teaching, EMR, Fire Science, and Intro to Economics.
And exercise science, right?
Yeah, I missed one, and Exercise Science. What we had there were ones within the motions, we had certain things that we were approving them pending, correct?
Right, we're approving them pending these curriculum components to them. And I've gone through, and I think I did ask the Student Achievement Committee to go through and really take a look, and there are pieces that are not done. Like there are summative assessments that, you know, in certain ones, it says like written evaluations to be developed, or summative assessment will be a combination of multiple choice, short answer, and essay. That's not really an assessment. I mean,
It's not an assessment.
Okay. Right, so, you know, the question now is, do we say this needs more time and it needs more work? However, there are kids in the class, so like, that's not, you know.
It's not fair to them. They didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's the challenge that we find ourselves in, is that, and again, it was a short turnaround. And I said, and I continue to say, like, what I would consider requirements for a curriculum may be different than what the district people want, in which case you need to let us know. Like, if you don't think it's reasonable to ask for anchor activities, not all curriculums have that. And that's not just acceptable, that's a reasonable position to have. What one of my concerns is, so the Art of Teaching as an example, I know it's like a block program, right? But what we have access to says at the top, sample, scope, and sequence. Like, this is, hey, here's an option. And so even with, you know, it's like, we don't really have a reading curriculum, we have a reading program. So the idea of taking these programs and turning it into a curriculum, creating those, Jamie refers to the objectives, and I refer to them as the enduring understandings and essential questions. I mean, I think that's what we're saying is, yes, this is no doubt a great program, but why are we in Region 13 using it? Because, and then you just, even if it's a one pager, here's what the curriculum is, and here's how it applies to us. And that marriage between those two documents is how you create that, how you turn this program into a curriculum. So I feel, and again, it was a quick turnaround. I don't want to penalize the kids who are in there working their little tushes off. But I'm also concerned that we need to either hear that's too much right now, we can't do it, or do it, you know, because otherwise it just kind of feels like, nah, I won't even say it, because that's a feeling that's not evident.
So
that's my
question is, since student achievement, you know, the first one, if we're going by Unified Health, Experimental Design, Art of Teaching, EMR, Fire Science, Exercise Science, Intro to Economics, it was pending the receipt of the objectives, enduring understandings, essential questions, summative assessments, and at least one anchor activity.
So I believe it was on January 19th, I wrote that they were all in the drive. So for example, the Art of Teaching, that has a scope and sequence of 5 units. That were in our documents that were taken from the purchase curriculum and then put into the required elements. So that is all in there. I don't know if you have seen that.
I have not.
So that is for all of, I believe, all of those courses. I am going to.
And for the purpose of our meeting, so Tina, do you have it? Like, I'm just wondering if we're looking at the same link.
I was in the shared drive.
Yeah, how long ago was everything put in together? Because I just went through that whole drive. And the pieces that were missing on the chart that Tina put together were still missing.
That I sent on January 14th that the documents for the spring courses, fire science, experimental design, the art of teaching, and unified health are available in the curriculum drive. If you want the specific links to all of them, I can certainly send them to you.
Was there a link to the drive on, was that the port? I'm sorry, what?
No, I did not, because we shared the drive with everybody.
You overestimate us.
Well,
Okay.
it's interesting when I go into the drive and I go into my shared, I can't find
So
it.
if you go into
Is it under the 9 through 12?
9 through 12
Okay.
curriculum. And then so for art of teaching, that would be under family and consumer science, because that was the best folder we had for it at the moment. And then you will see art of teaching folder. And within that folder, you will see 5 units and the scope and sequence. Now, I will say that like with anything, a curriculum is continuously being revamped. So I will say there may not be a specific assessment in there right now, because the teacher, in response to what the students are learning, may create something different than what might be in there. If you want something that's an absolute requirement for all teachers, then we can certainly make that.
I don't think that's at all what we would want. That would be a requirement. And I also feel like we're definitely putting you on the spot right now. And I think that we should have a conversation about so I can sit next to you and say, these are the things that I can't find.
Okay.
Let's talk about it and do that.
I can also put them in an email with all the links. If you want to just click on that.
No, and I'm in the drive right now and I see
think we should, based on enrollment and the kids being in the course, I'd like to be able to approve them just under the assumption that what's in there needs to be in there for this semester, right? With that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, that's why we're having the discussion, sure. Yeah.
You already have kids enrolled in that, correct?
Yep.
And I also trust Liza and Stephanie that if there, I trust you that if you're saying it's there and I can't find it, that's on me.
Right, that's on-
Right,
yeah,
and
exactly.
so.
Yep.
It's easy enough to email it,
Excuse me?
just email it.
Yeah, I will, I'll email all the
That'd be
links.
great, thank you.
It is, I just went through it, it's super organized, I mean, I just think to go through it.
It's fine, it's easy to.
Okay, so the first one, I'll make, can I have a motion to approve unified health, experimental design, art of teaching, EMR, fire science, exercise science, an intro to economics, pending, do you want me to, what's in the original motion? Okay, so pending the receipt of the objectives, understandings, essential questions, summative assessments, and the link, anchor learning activity. List of resources and tiered vocabulary for each unit. It's a long one.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
I'm trying to do the discussion backwards, but any other discussion on that one?
Well, did we want to put a date on that so that we have it
Well, I'm sure Liza's
Sure,
gonna
we
go
can be
through
at
it
the
this
same
week
pace.
and we'll figure,
Yeah, I'll
they're already in the course.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that the kids are. have it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
Those are.
Okay, number 2. 2 is a little different, right?
Well, 2 is kind of the same. However, what our recommendation from student achievement was to say yes, because the program of studies was coming out, the kids at Strong, I think toward the end of January, looked and they did their course registration, and Cog Shocks is happening. If it hasn't happened already, it's happening very, very soon. And so we said by the summer for those, because these were courses that were getting added to the program of studies for the 25-26 school year.
We just.
We wanted to make sure they had students that wanted to get in those programs as well. Because if they didn't, then you're spending all this time on something that's.
Yeah,
not
we
right.
hate to waste
Right.
resources
Yeah,
towards something
right.
that's
Yeah.
pointless.
Right.
I think we use our energy.
Right.
directly
So
towards
wanted to make sure
students.
that-
So on this one, before we get to discussion on it, I'll ask for a motion, to approve the offerings of biomedical exploration, intro to sociology. Are we on that one?
Yes.
Okay, good. Just kidding.
Fundamental.
Music in our lives, with a curriculum to be developed and presented to the Board of Education for approval by July, if the course is determined to run.
Yeah, fundamentals of world cultures as well.
No, we've.
No, that's a
next.
separate, that's separate, that's separate.
Oh, that's next, sorry.
Okay, with that, purpose of discussion, do I have a motion? Bob? Second by John. All right, discussion. So what we're looking for that is just to make sure everything's set for July, depending on enrollment. Some of these may not run depending on interest.
Right, but they were courses that the Student Achievement Committee talked about being really enthusiastic, very excited about the creation of these, the documents that are in progress they look great and,
Deb, are they working on that
like
now,
to take-
course selection? Or?
Yeah, well, they register, well, say we have about 20% still to register, but they did the initial registration earlier this week.
That will take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You opposed? You abstained. Okay. Discussion, okay, so purpose of discussion, vote to approve the offerings of fundamental world cultures. Is there a motion? Second,
Second.
John. All right, discussion, Tina.
This one we extracted from the proposed courses for 25-26. The concern from the Student Achievement Committee, and Dr. Darcy, you can speak to this, probably you've been a language teacher longer than I have. Was that fundamentals of world language cultures, unless it was language specific, would not carry like a world language credit. And if, and there were questions about like the intention, was it to be a step before you would take like a French one or a Spanish one? In which case, we had the concern was in terms of, like, are we doing our students any favors, or are we, I'm looking for the right word.
Lowering the bar.
Yes, thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
and not just lowering the bar for students, but quite frankly, lowering the bar for teachers. The idea of having, so French 1 is an introduction. And having a prerequisite or a pre-class for the very basic of classes is not requiring the teacher to differentiate for the kids sitting in front of them. I also, as I've said, like especially the nature of this course, it's a social studies course. It's not a world language course. And, I can pull out all of my tropes. Number one is the kids, every kid in the school has learned or is learning English. They can learn another language. It's about how we teach it. It's really insulting to those kids, saying you are incapable of learning French, you're incapable of learning Spanish, so we're going to put you in rocks for jocks, right? We're going to put you in this course and pretend it's world language. They learned English, they can learn another language. It's about how we teach it. So yeah.
And I think we separate out the Student Achievement Committee voted unanimously not to approve this course, but it still needs to come to the full board. Right.
And if anybody wants help in designing a different way to do it and in the current curriculum, more than happy, I'm sure Tina is as well, to lend our expertise to it. But this isn't the way to do it. This is skirting around tier 1 instruction.
And we have motion and a second. We'll take a vote. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay, oh God.
Look, we never get to say nay.
Never
Wanted
get to say
say
nay, there you go. Any abstain? Motion does not pass. Number 4. Purpose of discussion, take a motion to approve the courses to expand the business pathways with esports, business law, managerial finance, computer applications, and marketing 2, with a curriculum to be developed and presented to the Board of Education for July, if the courses are determined to run. So this runs. Yes. Esports, just in case I didn't say. And this follows the same as number 2, I believe, where these are courses that are being offered. But we just want to see everything by July, right?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Motion to approve.
Well, we're talking about expanding.
Hold on, we have a motion.
I'll
John.
second that.
Oh, Jason, there you go. Sorry, discussion, go ahead.
I just have a question about the budget implications. I mean, I feel pretty good about the idea of that July date. My question is like, especially like esports, like that comes with a huge price tag, and we just saw that budget, the idea, and I think it was either stated or implied that it probably can't happen. So, the fact that we're kind of delaying it until July anyway should help with that. But I guess that's my question and concern is what are the budgetary implications of this? Do we have the staff right now that if these courses other than esports were to run, that we can do it with existing staff or the proposed staffing and all of that?
I believe one of the ones that wasn't included in the budget was a business teacher for that pathway, so it will be impacted by that. It doesn't mean that we can't approve and develop it, because if we can't run it due to staffing, or we can't run it because everything's not in.
Well, the other thing that I'm thinking is that if there are other business classes that don't have high enrollment, and this is
Yeah,
something that
right.
does have high enrollment, offer that instead.
Thank you. That was.
Are there any of these that are contingent on needing that FTE for the business pathway? That absolutely none of our staff could teach.
Say it again.
Any of those courses, is there, no, that's what you can hear me. Are there any teachers that can teach all of those? Or do we specifically have certain courses that we need to hire someone in order to do?
I would think, I mean, we have one business teacher, obviously. Business law probably could go to the social studies department if necessary.
How fast?
Computer apps to go to tech. But those are full too, you know, like it's gonna come down to exactly what Dr. Charles said is we're gonna have to look at the numbers and what the kids want, and then those are the classes we run, and then we make sure we have the staff to teach. And if we run out of staff to teach it, we just go to the next highest class of somebody that can teach.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
You know,
Okay.
so if with personal finance being in this whole mix too, it's getting a little messy.
Which is a
because it's
mandate, we
requirement.
have to have it, yeah.
And so, although that can go in a couple of departments too, we all know that that has a ripple effect.
So is there a concern, however, that we would put a lot of effort into writing this curriculum that might not run? And is that the best use of your time?
So that, I believe that's why we put July, because course selection will be in the next month or so.
Yeah,
but
we should
have the numbers
make
now.
decisions about the courses that are running and then run the schedule. I know Katie likes to get it run in April. That's our goal.
So are these already are in the course of studies for 25-26?
Yeah, we put them in.
To offer to
But
see
we
if they
won't
have
develop, same as that other group of
numbers.
things, we
Yeah.
won't develop the
They're
curriculum
running.
until we know we're running the course, because to
Okay.
Jamie's point, I don't want to use the resources if we don't need to develop that course, but if they're approved by you guys, we can at least leave them in there for interest level as the kids come up.
Esports, was that, do we have a number on that course?
The curriculum was 5,000, I believe, and I did take that out because we weren't doing the teacher, but.
Guys, on the pathways. We have now, this will be the business pathway will include this and other courses.
Correct. So in the business pathway, that would be almost like a major,
Yeah.
and to offer the most amount of courses, that's why we, put in for the business teacher, but we understand that that may not come to fruition. And so we would then look at the student interest numbers and
And-
see which courses, are most, picked for interest.
The other pathways you've adopted include,
Excuse me?
what are the other pathways?
We have Health and Human Services, and Health and Human Services has courses from different areas, mostly of course the sciences, and there's some technology. And then
Like health and services.
health services, the EMR, EMT classes. So that is being developed. You went in December to the 8th grade?
Yeah, Katie and Mallory.
There were high school representatives that went down in December and talked to 8th graders about joining that pathway. And that they are in charge of getting kids involved in that.
So we have two pathways developed.
So we have two idea of pathways developed. We have one that is being implemented. And then one that we really would need more business course offerings in order to make it a full pathway.
The one that's being
But we have
implemented is health.
Health and Human Services, yes.
And so an 8th grader looking at here and says, there's two pathways, I don't like either one of those, what do I do?
That is the general studies then.
And if the general studies wants to go into engineering or biology or chemistry or physics, how do they choose?
Well,
When our direction is going this way, and they want to go this way.
Well, they have a counselor and an advisor, and so we're really grouping.
I'm just
the-
concerned that by identifying pathways, there's like limiting direction and choice for students. Without saying, until all the pathways are done.
Yeah, I just think it's something that you grasp with when you're really trying to start these pathways. Westbrook had the same growing pains when they started them. They started with certain things. You know, I know just in my own experience, I know guidance is asking those questions. What are you interested in? You know, are there internships and ways to do things, but.
So we're really, with the pathways, we're really trying to make a group of students that would have similar experiences and with, but
My-
all,
yeah, my
all
concern is
students
that-
have advising on what they want to do when they're older. How might this course help you in that? I know I sat through a junior meeting today talking about, oh, well, what do you want to major in college? What do you want to do? And then selecting the courses and the activities that would best be a fit for that future of that child. So there's definitely advising and course selection based on interest. This is just another way to group and to look at.
I'm just concerned that if we create this focus, we might be putting off some of the students who are not interested in those two focuses.
Oh, I agree. That's why we hope to bring more.
Yeah.
We just can't do it all at once. It really has to be developed and
I'm off the
scaffolded.
subject, but
and treated.
I'm off the subject, but I have concerns that I've raised before.
Yes.
Right. Keep talking about them. All right. I'll read that one again, just so we are clear. We currently have a motion and a second on the table to approve the courses to expand the business pathways, esports, business law, managerial finance, computer applications, and marketing too. The curriculum to be developed and presented to the Board of Education for approval by July if the courses are determined to run. I had discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion passes. Thank you so much for all the work you've done on it. I know, we'll keep going through it, student achievement will, work with you, look at those, make sure that we have everything coming up for July.
I just shared this spreadsheet with you. That I put together.
All right, with that, I will move on to public comment. Do we have any in-person public comment?
Indeed.
Go ahead, Chuck.
I'm gonna break the rules and ask a question.
You want to come up the mic so we can hear you?
Sure.
Okay. Our new finance committee member, appointed by Durham, or elected by Durham.
Chuck Simon, Durham. break the rules and ask a question, you don't have to answer if you don't want. Did I hear you say that you have to go to some board to get approval of the 5-year rolling average? And if so, that potentially could affect the way we do the splits in the 25-26 budget?
I don't, I think it's the following year, I can't remember. We could get that information for you.
Yeah, it has to be approved by the State Board of Education. And the thought is that they're going to, as long as the district doesn't object to it. I did do allocations both ways. But until I get that approval, we have to use the current allocation method. You compute your budget in March, is that right?
No.
Okay, so we're hopeful to know by then which one you can use, but if they say that it's been approved, you've got that, it's done. The new average is done.
So
it would be
Brendan
for
and Bob are
25,
also on top of it with me. I think they're both going as well.
Sorry?
I think both Brendan and Bob are, Armentina are going up with me on March, so.
Oh, good.
So we'll let you know.
Thank you.
So the main objective of this is to avoid any like big spikes. Oh, no.
So it's not Middlefield
Yeah.
takes $1 million
Hill.
this year and next year Durham.
Yes.
They can
No,
really
makes
truly
sense.
plan on a 5-year rolling average. Again, the hits that they take are tough.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other in-person public comment? Yeah. Come on up.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Trevor Hansen. I live in Durham and I appreciate it. I'm an IT manager at the Regional Water Authority in New Haven, Connecticut. First, I just want to say you guys are doing a great job in difficult times. I listened to that Title IX discussion and had no idea of some of the implications that were coming your way. And I think you guys did a good job on that. Also, I want to say I really enjoyed the survey to help us try to find a new superintendent. I think the questions and how you let us pick the different answers in there, I hope it helps you in your search in order to help out our district. I too entered RWA at difficult times. I'm currently leading a $60 million software upgrade project. And in that process, we had to do an RFP with 11 different vendors, and do a short list. And I want to encourage each and every single one of you to go to that February 19th meeting. Because the insight that you're going to gain through that process, it's not just about cost. It's about finding the right person and the right vendor who's going to help us lead us through the change that we're about to make as a community here. And that's what we're doing at the Regional Water Authority. We chose the right vendor to go through this very difficult change that's going to affect 500,000 people in 2 months. So please go to that. Great job on the budget presentation tonight. 5% prove it. Honestly, it's the same stuff that we're doing. It's what my budget's going to increase by this year at least. I love the 0.5% with the policy change on the leave that the state of Connecticut put in there. You know, it was a fun one to absorb. On the IT and software budget items, though, wanted to throw a couple ideas. First, the monitoring software, you definitely need that. It's going to pay for itself as long as it's implemented correctly. It reduces time savings. We have it at our company, and we use it every day to help our end users and give remote support. If it's open managed, any one of those products, you know, it's come such a long way today. Other gaps that I wanted to share some ideas on, or at least ask questions, especially when it comes to like needing infrastructure or computer support or helping our less technologically enabled teachers. Could we get the students to help? A lot of them are very tech savvy, right? And I love hiring interns. They're ambitious, they're engaged, they want to learn. I know that there's security concerns, right? Why would I give students access? You know, usually they need admin privileges in order to help you guys out. But there's ways to lock that down. There's way to give them temporary accounts. And this could turn into a program, this could turn into a curriculum I listened to the computer applications course that you guys are looking to vote or add. That the computer applications is not the same of infrastructure, and that's where I came up out of, was infrastructure. Now I manage applications, so it definitely leads to different pathways. And on the pathways, I definitely hear the concern about dead end of pathways and the concern. And I just wanted to bring up that the pathways will be successful if they offer real world application to them. Right. I'd say 60% of my friends went to college and have a job in a field that they didn't get a degree in. And they attribute a lot of that to they loved what they studied, but the real world didn't mirror what they learned. And I think you're going to be able to get people to stick to the pathways if you can find ways like what I just mentioned with the infrastructure and being to help out their teachers and getting that hands-on and figuring out why am I doing what I'm doing? And you're going to get people sticking to what they actually choose, or they're going to learn real quick. They're going to fail real quick and say, oh, wow, I didn't want to do that because that's not what I expected it to be. Lastly, I ended up here tonight because my son was one of the ones singing this morning. Otherwise, you wouldn't see my face here. And my daughter was sitting over there in also mirroring it, and they're in first and third grade. And I would appreciate it if you get those senior nights figured out on different nights for when they get to the school. But anyways, thank you guys very much for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's like, I gotta lower it. Gotta squeeze the side.
Where it says squeeze.
Maureen Funk from Durham. Just a few new things. Yeah, the senior nights, I wasn't even thinking of that, but just the students like to go to each other's games. So not only parents and siblings, but students, and we run into that with soccer in the fall, the same issue. I would love for all of the people actively commenting and complaining on Facebook incessantly to remind them that the board is here to listen and answer our questions. And every board member that I've ever called or administration member I've ever called or asked for a meeting has nearly immediately said yes, called me back, answered my questions, and moved on like, respectable adults, including Dr. Charles, brand new, crazy schedule, took a, 40-minute phone call with me last week. So thank you. And so I just will continue to encourage those people to come out from behind their computers, because based on the amount of Facebook activity, you would think that this room would be full of people right now. And the online, which, are there many people online, Lindsay? 6. Okay, fantastic. Hopefully they have comments. The survey is awesome. Thank you for that. I think the survey is open until the 19th. There were comments that the forum, which I was not able to get to last night, it was my anniversary, did not include all of the comments from the survey, which I then pointed out to people is open until the 19th, at which point they will be considered. So I think people just miss the order of things sometimes. Great work on the budget as usual. I like the development of the pathways and the new courses and everything. I just wish we could get away from asking young students what they want to major in. I just they don't even know what that means. We should be asking them, what makes you happy? What are you good at? What do you lose track of time when you're doing? It's a really daunting, and for some kids it's impossible. And then they decide like my senior did, and then she was terrified because she broke down and wanted to change her mind. And we also should be encouraging them to change their mind. As a civil engineer who's now in sales in interior construction, which has none of those things have anything to do with each other, yet I'm a totally successful adult that came from a average public school district. I think we should encourage them to change their minds and be comfortable with that and be asking them different questions rather than what they want to major in. Oh, yeah, and I was wondering about the computer application thing too, but I guess that will just develop. I mean, so many of those things are going to be obsolete, but I assuming the people that would be designing that would be talking about that. And I thought I had one more thing on here, but I can't read my own handwriting. So thank you, good work. And yeah, I just encourage the public again to come to the meetings and call people like they're not monsters. They're human beings who are here to work for us and for our students and are all happy to answer every question I've ever asked. So thank you.
Yes, great timing.
Very timely.
Right?
Any online public comment? If you could raise your hand. Have any other in person? Okay. Thank you all for coming tonight. Maybe it's not in there, but I'll put that under public comment. I'll take speeding on it. The focus groups for the superintendent were today and yesterday. And I have not had any contact yet with the consultants, but I know that they're working really hard. And based on the qualifications, the flyer that they produced, that they gave the district to post, you'll notice a lot of the qualifications on that page of the board, what came out of our focus group with Mary and Jack. And I think what will happen a lot with the leadership profile once that comes out is that the board will be able to take the community input and use that in our interviews. You know, there might be some steps in between if we get down to one candidate, but I think I'm really proud of Jack and Mary. They had some great conversations with a lot of people yesterday, including the high school and middle school students. They were great. You know, they talked about what I heard from a parent, they were just really energetic. They were really excited to talk, and for especially the middle school kids to be able to talk like that and feel comfortable talking to two people, I know it's pretty cool. So more news on that soon. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Linda.
Second.
Second, Jason. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. Have a wonderful night and a happy Valentine's Day.
Good meeting.
Ah.
Great meeting. That's.